On this episode of Bite Size, we are watching and discussing the 24th scene of the movie Twilight. For those of you watching along at home, that is from 29:48 to 31 minutes and 57 seconds. And now, on to the episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of Bite Size, the Twilight Film Retrospective podcast. If this is your first episode, welcome. So glad to have you here. Here's what's happening. My name is Ben. I'm the host of this show. I am watching and discussing the movie Twilight, one scene at a time with a different guest every week. For me, I'm watching the movie Twilight very slowly over the course of like a year and a half. For my guest, they get nothing, no context except for what they bring with them already. I give them about 90 seconds to 3 minutes of movie, and we talk about that for as long as we can. Joining me today, we have a writer, an actor, a musician, a dabbler in what? Only one way to find out. Brian Huther, welcome to Bite Size.
Thank you. Thrilled to be here.
How's it going? How are you handling the cold weather?
I'm handling it great. I live in an enclosed space indoors.
That's good.
Which really helps me in the endeavor of not dying.
Absolutely. We're, for those of you, I don't know why I mention the weather almost every time at the start of the show, but it's something to talk about, I guess.
It definitely is. But I don't know that we need to talk about the weather when we've got a clip this juicy.
No, you're right.
There's so much to dig into.
We need to get straight to the meat of the matter, and that is the scene we're watching today. We're going to cut straight to the chase. We're watching the 24th scene of the movie Twilight. We're back in the lunchroom. We have a good couple minutes, and baby, it's beach party time.
I will say, best scene, my favorite scene from Twilight that I've ever watched.
Oh, that reminds me. I forgot to start this the way I start every interview with a guest, and that's by asking you, Brian, what is your history with the Twilight franchise?
Nothing.
Okay.
I haven't.
Love that.
I have absorbed what culture has brought to me.
Okay.
But I've never read it, never watched it. I just know things like what's his name?
No, you got it. You can remember.
Team Jacob and Team it's not Robert, that's the actor.
That's the real man's name.
It is? Oh, it is.
That's the actor's name is Robert.
Oh, yeah,
Pattinson.
that's what I'm saying. Team Edward
There we go.
Cullen.
Yeah, you're doing great.
I know Bella. I know that it's crazy.
All your friends.
You know, I know Bella. I know this kid with the long sort of emo hair who wears a tie to school.
Eric,
I guess.
One of my favorites. Eric is one of my favorites because he kind of reminds me of how I was in high school. A little too uncomfortably so. Yeah. Would you say you were more of an Eric or a Mike?
Mike is the one with the striped shirt.
I guess the blonde one.
The blonde one.
Yeah.
Good
job picking that up.
I will say here's the other thing that I did. I watched the scene and I went and looked up the screenplay, and I read the screenplay alongside of it after I had watched it. So I did pick up the name Mike because Mike is mentioned. I learned something about Mike's story here that was not communicated by the scene.
Okay.
Which is the sort of jealousy that seems to be there for Bella.
Yeah. Okay, before we get too far away from it,
yes.
I'm going to give us all a brief overview of the scene. It's in the lunchroom. Bella walks up to a table of her human friends and talks to them for a while, and then she goes to the salad bar and talks to Edward for a little while, and that's about it. They talk about going to the beach. There's really not much else going on in the scene. Edward's weird and confrontational again. Let's get into it, let's start where let's start there. Let's start with the screenplay. How long did it take you to find not only the screenplay but this specific part of the screenplay?
It took me maybe 30 seconds.
Okay, that was quick.
I googled Twilight screenplay, and then I Control F, and then I whatever Edward was saying at the time, I typed that in.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right up.
So what did you learn then about our friend Mike?
Have you looked at the screenplay?
I can't say that I have.
Okay.
No.
It's interesting. The lines are different.
Yeah, because one of my favorite things, one of the things we're going to talk a lot about today in this kind of scene and in an upcoming episode is the things that are going on that I don't think anyone ever intended. The stuff that's going on in the background, weird one-off lines and acting choices that were probably made on the day. And now we're coming in with like actual information. So what did you learn about Mike?
Yes. Okay. Well, what I learned about Mike is primarily that there's some looks exchanged throughout this scene. That in the first part of the scene, we don't see any like overt attention from Mike towards Bella. But later on in the scene, it mentions something about Mike sort of looking on jealously, and Edward looking back when he asks what beach are you going to? She says La Cush. What does she say?
La Push. It's La Push, baby.
La Push, baby.
Yeah.
I went to look that up.
A real beach.
A real beach?
Yeah, a real beach by Forks, Washington.
I don't know where this is set.
Forks, Washington.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. There's so much. I know that at that point, Edward kind of looks at his people, then looks at her people, specifically sees Mike, and is like, it's too crowded.
Everybody's going to the beach. Come. I mean, have fun.
Which beach?
La Push.
I don't know.
Is there something wrong with that beach?
It's just a little crowded.
As if to imply that, like,
that Mike's the issue?
Mike might be part of the issue. He doesn't want all these humans interfering and dare I say cock blocking.
Interesting.
Fang blocking. I don't know.
Fang blocking, I think is the appropriate terminology.
These friggin' fang blockers. So that's the impression that I got, is that he is kind of like, he just doesn't want to hang out with all of those humans. That's for reasons of like self-protection, but probably mostly just to kind of remain an edgelord.
Yeah, that's interesting, and not at all how I took it when I saw this, when I was watching this scene in preparation, mainly because I've seen these movies several times, and I know that sort of a lot of more of the backstory.
Yeah.
As I'm going back, I'm watching this. I wasn't listening to you talk at all. I was doing my own thing, and I going back and watching the scene again. You can see Edward do a little look back at the lunch table where I assume Eric and Mike and Anna Kendrick were all sitting.
Yes.
But what I assumed, and you would have no way of knowing this from the 2-ish minutes of movie that I gave you.
Yes.
The beach they're talking about is on Native American land. It's on the Quileute Reservation.
Oh.
And the Quileute tribe are all werewolves. And there is a treaty between the werewolves and the vampires, and there's a line that they can't cross. And in order to get to the beach, they would have to cross the line.
That's why he asks what beach. Because I was like, I got the impression that he just didn't want to go hang out with these other, because I don't know, he's too exclusive. He doesn't want to have fun. I don't know.
Well, no, that is valid based on the screenplay, as you brought up, and based on what I just saw watching back in the clip. That does make it through to the movie.
Yeah, for sure. But it is so interesting because he doesn't need to ask what beach it is in order to say, no, I don't want to do that. So now I understand why he asked about the beach. It all does make sense.
Yeah.
It's so bland in this scene.
Yes.
The coloring.
What about the coloring?
Just the cinematography. I swear the walls of this cafeteria are the same color as like both of their skin.
Yeah.
It's this like pale, washed out kind of green. What is it? Your hands hovering over a bell? What is going on?
I'm waiting for you to say a very specific word. Tell me more about the colors, Brian.
Pale? Is it pale?
No.
Pale? Deathly?
No, you're getting further away. You're getting colder as I vigorously wink at you. Colder.
Oh, okay. So I'm getting this kind of like frozen, icy.
But if you were to be more literal, what color would you say it is?
Snow.
No, literally, Brian.
White?
Farther, Brian.
I have no idea what you want me to say. Why don't you just, you know what? I'm sure it'll come up. I'm sure I'll say it.
Okay, I'm going to keep my hand over this bell until you say it.
So looking at the colors of the scene, I just was like, I didn't want to look at it.
Yeah.
I was just like, it's not pretty. And reading in the screndplay, the scene with the part with the apple, it describes the apple as this bright red against his like white, I don't know white washed out skin color.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Brian! Brian, you've got me so close. you keep almost saying the word and then getting away from it. Oh, God, I hope we come back around to this. Let's start at the top of the scene.
Yeah, let's do that.
There is some fun stuff to talk about in really every frame of painting this one.
It really is.
We start off with Edward and his family at the table. I don't know if you know, but those are also other vampires that he's
I read that
sitting
those
with.
were his siblings or something. I definitely got the
Technically,
that's
yes.
what it said, is siblings.
Not like, yeah, they're other vampires who were turned and pretend to be the adopted children of the same vampire guy. It's complicated. Yeah. Let's see. They're eating lunch, and longtime listeners will know the lunch scenes in this movie are crazy because the food there, the vampires can't eat human food.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So in previous scenes, there has been crazy things in front of them during lunchtime, like a bag of hard-boiled eggs or a single baby carrot not on a plate, just on the table. This time it's just like sodas and chips and more like normal stuff.
What is he holding? Because
That's a great question.
He drops something.
He throws something.
He throws something.
Something.
He sees Bella.
Yes.
And he throws his food in the little tray.
Yes.
And I don't know what it is. It looks like maybe is it a slice of chicken?
I thought it was a cookie.
A cookie?
I'm pretty sure it's a chocolate chip cookie.
Okay. Because it looked like maybe it was an old rotten banana, which I figure they wouldn't do.
It looked like a circle with like a chunk taken out of it, like roughly cookie size.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do? Do they just pretend to eat?
Basically, yeah.
I gotta say, and I don't want to say this lightly, but there's a lot about this scene that's very like disordered eating coded.
Okay.
Because of like what you're saying right there. Like so many people are just sort of pretending to eat.
Yeah.
Later on when we get to what Bella's eating, we could talk about that
We'll
a
get
little
deeper
bit
into
more.
that
But
one, yeah.
This, I mean, what do? Do they just like put it in their mouths and pretend? Do they have to like throw it under the table when no one's looking?
No, I truly have no idea.
Okay, so but when we've got like weird foods on the table, is that meant to represent that they don't know what
humans
eat?
No, I don't think so, because they've all been human at some point or another. I think it's meant to represent no one was supposed to pay this close attention to the movie, and yet here we are.
Yeah.
He says, I don't even know. That's how we start the scene with Edward saying,
Is that
I
what
don't
he
even
says?
know. Yes.
I don't even know. I watched it on like half speed trying to catch it, and it just
whenever I watch
don't even know
this in preparation of an episode, I have like my studio headphones on, it's turned all the way up. I don't want to miss anything. And he mouths, we see him from afar mouth, I don't even know, and then he says it again. So, and no one else at his table is saying anything.
Right.
So the four of them are just sitting there watching Edward say, I don't even know, over and over again. We don't even know what he doesn't even know, though.
Wait, but he says it multiple times?
He says it at least twice, but we only hear it once.
Oh.
Yeah. At the very beginning of the scene, we see him say something. And based on my
I don't even know.
Poor to average lip reading, he says, I don't even know. I don't even know. Bella walks up to a table of humans. We've got the whole cast of characters there. Anna Kendrick, Eric, Mike. The guy, this is not going to mean anything to you, but the guy from the van is there. A couple scenes ago, Bella almost gets hit by a van.
Is that why the guy had a bandage on his forehead?
Yes,
okay.
And that's what I was going to say.
I was confused.
He was driving a van, and he slid on some ice and almost hit Bella. And then we see him like bleeding from hitting part of his van, I guess.
So he's
and there's
not
a Band-Aid on his head, and I thought that was a nice touch.
It is a nice touch.
They were clearly like the script, the script supervisor was really
they were on it.
Yeah, really thinking.
So he's not generally a part of their friend group?
He is, I guess. This is like one of the two scenes that really he's in at all. And the one is when he almost hits Bella with a van. The kids invite Bella to the beach.
La push.
La push, baby. It's La push. There's a big swell coming in, and we get maybe my favorite part of the movie so far.
Oh, my God.
Which is when Eric jumps up on his chair and says,
Hey, La push, baby. You in?
Should I know what that means?
La Push Beach down on the Quileute Res. We're all going tomorrow.
And there's a big swell coming in.
And I don't just surf the internet.
Eric, you stood up once, and it was a foam board.
And I don't just surf the internet, which I realize is supposed to show like how dorky and uncool he is, but I genuinely love it, and in the same situation would have said that too.
Yeah, it is. It's a little like, oh, they don't even know I'm actually a surfer.
They go to the beach. Do you like the beach? Do you also like the beach when it's very cold out?
Very cold out, and there's a swell coming in.
That does not sound like good beach conditions.
I know.
It
didn't sound good to me, and I'm kind of wondering what are the conditions that you are going to surf and whale watch.
I mean, well, the swell's coming in, so that's good for the surfing.
Yes.
And then I guess everyone else can whale watch from the shore?
I guess so, yeah.
I don't know. I would love to go whale watching, though. That would get me out. I'm not a beach guy. Sand is not my favorite thing. It gets in your socks. I don't like that.
Oh, yeah.
But I do want to go whale watching at some point, so that would get me out to the beach.
Yeah, well,
Even
I
on
don't
a
think
cold-
you'd have to go to a beach with sand to necessarily go whale watching.
I
You
guess
just
so.
get on their Chat GPT. Can you find me a beach with no sand but whales?
Chat GPT, can you get me a boat?
I need, please, what is the shortest path to a boat? How can I make enough money to buy a boat
Yeah.
in 2 weeks?
Bella, during this conversation, starts eating a piece of cucumber.
Grabs a piece of cucumber, which, yeah.
As we see, though, she just sets down her backpack. She's not gone to the salad bar yet. She stole that cucumber
She
from
stole
someone.
it from someone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
I think she probably stole it. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, she did.
just making sure we're on the same page.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Any screenplay thoughts from the scene before we move to the salad bar?
Well, it just seems like, from me, what I gathered from the scene is like,
Yeah.
hey, she's got coolish friends.
Yeah.
Relatable. It's like your friends.
Yeah.
But a little bit more confident.
The people that she should be hanging out with.
Right.
Right.
And there's this sense of this is somehow not enough for me because there's a part of me that's not realized here in this space that is attracted to this kind of shadow self of my like desire for this guy who has, it seems like, caused her nothing but trouble. And yeah, it just seems to be there to establish, like, what if your friends were confident and cool? They are if you behave like this. And now here's the thing that's pulling her away from that.
It does make me wonder, are we supposed to want her to forget about Edward and hang out with these other people? Or is that just me as a 30-year-old looking back on high school interactions that, like,
Yes.
are we supposed to see Eric and Mike and think, what losers, Bella is too good for them. She should be hanging out with the vampires. Or are we supposed to think, no, Bella, don't do it. There's perfectly good friends right here.
I think we have to be caught in between because that's
Okay.
where Bella is.
I guess.
I think we have to feel that we're being pulled apart. That, like, yes, of course I want you to just hang out with the people who already like you, who are already plenty of fun, and invite you to go to the beach with them. But then also, isn't there some part of us, in all of us, that like fantasizes about something that's so much more beautiful, some sort of an ancient magic,
Maybe.
the kind of love that just cannot be overcome by anything in the world. Like, we all sort of have, I feel like there's something deep inside of us that sort of is always wishing there was another now, and I see that in Bella's like attention towards Edward.
Well, let's talk about what that other now is. Let's go to the salad bar. Bella goes to the salad bar.
Because I will say, we are not the only people wondering if maybe Bella should not be hanging out with Edward and just go hang out with her friends.
Right.
Edward seems to be on that side as well.
Yeah, and everything he's done previous to this scene really just would make me think, oh, you should never speak to this person again.
Oh, yeah. Do you have like a running red flags tally?
No, not so much as there's just a permanent red flag stuck up in the air so far. Basically every conversation Bella and Edward have had to this point, roughly a half hour into the movie, has been stilted and confrontational and just sort of left both of them feeling worse than when it started. And for some reason, the movie expects us to believe that they just can't stop doing that.
Right.
Let's talk about the salad.
This salad
on screen for all of 4 seconds.
You gotta get just some grilled chicken on there. You gotta get some chickpeas. Like, you gotta get some protein in you, because that is just not going to sustain you for more than 30, 45 minutes.
My big complaint with the salad is not a source of protein. My big complaint is you got to arrange it in such a way that you can eat it without it falling apart and like maybe even falling out of the bowl, because she has like 2 big leaves of like romaine lettuce, like sticking full intact leaves, like sticking up out of the bowl, and 2 little baby corn cobs also sticking up out of the bowl.
Yeah.
And then just like a few cherry tomatoes and cucumber slices and cauliflower.
Yes.
And so it's basically a veggie tray. This is not a salad. It's a crudité in a bowl.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Right. If she attempts, because of the size of the lettuce, if she attempts to toss that salad at all, it's not going to work. And that's really...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that lettuce needs to be cut up.
There's clearly no intention of addressing.
What? That's what it's called.
Edible art?
This is one of those things that's come up a few times on the show where that has to be in the book, that he walks up and notices her salad and makes a comment about how it's edible art. Because A, no screenplay writer I feel like would ever write that, because when you're writing a book, you don't have to worry about what these things actually look like.
Yes.
You can trust the reader's imagination to come up with a charming salad, whatever that means.
Yes.
When you are writing for the screen, you have to you know that someone is going to have to make this salad look charming.
Yes.
And maybe they're going to ask you what you had in mind. And so surely this is one of those things that whenever they were writing the screenplay, there was the charming salad, and then on set they had to think, well, shit, now what do we do?
How many work hours went into designing a salad that could have easily been cut from the film?
I mean,
just have him walk up and say any other vaguely sort of small talky thing.
Right.
Cute bracelet, but he says it like a vampire. I don't know. Like, it doesn't you don't have to solve the deep salad problem in order to like move on with the production.
Another theory of mine in these situations as they come up in the movie is they were afraid to cut them out because if it's in the book, Twilight fans are going to be expecting it.
Yes.
And so you got to arrange the salad like a weird bouquet of lettuce and corn.
It strikes me as the victory and the downfall of this particular film series, that it must be
that you have to do whatever Stephenie Meyer told you to do. Yes.
But more deeply than that, it is purely the receptacle for the projections of the person who's consuming it.
Yeah.
It's not about trust us, we're going to tell you a great story. Mm-hmm. It's like you want to feel this way.
Yeah.
So we're going to make a thing where you can feel that way.
Right. And
like,
yet we are beholden to this thing we did not make and kind of don't understand.
Yes. Yeah.
You can tell like maybe the directors and some of the actors do, but like the studio sees this as like a cash grab for young people.
Yes.
And they don't fully grasp what it is they have here.
I do. There's got to be somebody who could direct this with a little bit more visual flair.
Yeah.
And maybe there is in other scenes. Again, I've only seen this one, but it was so ashy.
Yeah.
And white and icy and snowy and frosty, and it's cold. It's definitely a cold word.
I'd say it's related to the cold. Yes.
Okay. It's I don't know what I can't.
Oh man,
is it a very common word?
Yeah, you're thinking too metaphorically here, man.
Snowflake.
Nope. Less metaphorical than that. Just
what's the metaphorical about a snowflake?
Simple it down. We're talking about the color here. Name a color, man.
It's white. It's the color white. It's gray. It's white, gray. It's eggshell, beige.
Nope. Simpler than that. Simpler than
white.
Yeah, simpler than eggshell and beige. That's for sure.
Oh, okay. Someone's got to call up.
You're wearing it right now, man.
I'm wearing it.
Yeah.
What? Like, I'm wearing navy, and I'm wearing a tan navy blue.
That's
it's just
the
blue
bell. That's the Bluebell, Brian.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not uncommon for guests to come on this show and talk about just how blue the movie Twilight is. It usually takes less coercing than it did this time around.
Okay.
But yeah, the movie does have a weird sort of blue tone
I mean, it definitely is a cooler color palette, but I felt like as I was watching this scene.
That's fair, because this is a white, very white lunchroom, and sort of when you bring in that blue, it just sort of make it a more teal, mint-ish, greenish, bluish that could go kind of either way. It's a lot more evident in other scenes when you're supposed to be like outside.
Maybe it's just the presence of so many goddamn vegetables.
Yeah, all that salad.
The only thing they have in this cafeteria is one big salad bar with a bowl of apples on it.
Edward scares her with his presence, and she knocks over the apple in a very unnatural way.
Very unnatural.
Her hands go forward and then immediately backwards. And you can tell they only went forward to knock over the apple.
Yes.
And like they could have put it in a better, or directed her to move her hands in a more natural way.
Yes.
It's like you can see her very clearly hit the apple, then react. Yes. I don't know.
You can see how tight the shooting schedule was in a lot of these shots.
Right.
Where it's like just the little details on the edge are just fuzzy enough that you're kind of like, We didn't spend time on this.
Right.
And what a service it would be to Twilight fans everywhere if they had.
She knocks it off. He kicks it like a hacky sack.
Yes.
He catches it in a weird cradling way, like not like catching it. He just like puts his hand under it.
It made me wonder how that shot was done.
That's got to be all CGI, right? Like that's an animated apple.
It did kind of give me that vibe. I didn't really think about it, but it did.
If he had to actually kick the apple up, that would have taken so many takes.
Yeah.
Definitely the kick was animated.
Okay.
And maybe him catching it, he just like, if I could demonstrate with, I don't have anything on hand to demonstrate with, so I'm going to use my wedding ring. Maybe you could just sort of have him like slightly toss it up,
right.
And then
you just cut in
the cut comes when it's falling down into his hands. I think that would make the most sense for the catch.
Yeah.
But when it's falling down and when he's popping it back up to himself, that's got to be animated.
The first 4 times I watched it, I did think it just I did think it hit the floor.
Yeah. And it definitely hit either the floor or his foot. That probably has dirt and mud and water on it from outside.
Yeah.
And there's no way he should be handing that apple back to her.
No, it really isn't. You know, not when there's a bowl of apples right next to you.
Right. I think you just put that back in the bowl and let
back in the bowl, Ben?
Let some other student take it.
You're going to put that back in the bowl?
What are you going to do, throw away the apple? There's no trash can there.
Okay, maybe here's what I would do probably. Yeah. I would probably set it next to the bowl. With the bruise that's starting to show on the apple,
okay.
I would probably allow that to be sort of prominent so that, you know, what will happen is that the apple will get left alone until someone who works at the cafeteria can toss it away.
I just put it back in the bowl and let some other student.
Back in the
why
bowl
not?
With vampire dirt on it.
Yeah, why not? Know? They're not going to know. They're not going to taste it.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Before we wrap things up, it's time for a recurring segment on the show that I call Extra Extra. Extra Extra is devoted to the people in the background that I think are more interesting than the people in the foreground. They are people who do not have lines or names. They're just sort of there doing their own thing. The most extra, if you will. And today's Extra Extra is definitely got to be this guy. If you look between Bella and Edward right now, you see a man in all blue, what I think is a denim shirt tucked into denim jeans.
Okay.
And he's an adult, and he's the only adult in this room. He's got a goatee. He just sort of walks around like he owns the place. He's saying hi to students. And if you look, keep on looking where he was. At some point right here, he poses for a picture because one of the people at Bella's table has like the yearbook camera. And you see right there, he poses for a picture and does a little arms out fun pose. And that's my extra extra for the day because he's just walking around having silent conversations, posing for pictures, the only grown-up in the room. I love him.
Fantastic. So much about this really reminds me of experiences that I've had on set as an extra or like...
Tell me about that.
For commercials and things. There's just this sense, like seeing the girl with the camera.
Yeah.
And she's like...
She's lucky because she has something to mess with.
She has something to mess with. However, it's like... I assume that she's meant to be passionate about photography.
Yeah, she's on the yearbook.
Oh, she's on the yearbook.
Yeah,
okay.
Or
yearbook.
The school paper, maybe?
Okay.
One of those two.
One of those two makes sense.
She takes pictures for school reasms.
For school reasons, because I'm like, why are you just taking pictures of random people around the cafeteria?
No, she is, I think, on the paper.
If you're rocking a film camera in whatever 2008 or something, you're not taking pictures of your... But I get it. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
But so much about the initial conversation with the sort of like half ad-libbed, like when Mike says, "It's creepy, man," and all of that stuff is so gives me the vibe of people who were told to just kind of ad-lib and
just
be
act
friends
like high school students
by a director who doesn't care about the characters that are doing that at all.
Right.
It's just meant to be a vibe. And you'll go into like commercial auditions and things, and you're like, all these random people that you've never met are now your group of very best friends. And everybody trying to pretend to be best friends with each other or trying to pretend to like have something to do in the environment that's more interesting than just like staring at your bag of Lay's or whatever.
Yeah.
And so you get things like the camera that actually like really stands out as kind of different because...
And I say she's lucky that she has the camera to work with because in addition to people like that, who actually have characters and are allowed to talk on camera. You have all the other students who have been told to stay as quiet as possible, do not make any noise, just move your mouth like you're talking, and don't do anything that would distract from the screen, or don't be too loud because then we have to pay you more because you're technically a speaking part.
Do you think you can get yourself upgraded on a union set by just talking too loud?
No, you can get yourself removed from the movie, though. There is a very famous story about the movie Dumb and Dumber where Jim Carrey is like going through a scene or something, and he sees a couple guys and starts talking to one of them, and they just don't say anything. And the legend goes that they were hired to just be standing outside this 7-Eleven or whatever and don't say anything, because if you say something, that's a speaking part and we have to pay you more. So when Jim Carrey starts talking to them, they're just completely silent, and he's just like, well, see you later. And it stayed in the movie. But that's what I think of whenever I see like the other nameless students in the background who are moving their mouths. And you hear sound, but that's not them making that sound. That's piped in later from the Foley guys. Yeah,
I've downloaded that exact sound effect off of freesound.org or something. I think that I have a few extras that I really like that just stand out as very extra-y extras.
Yeah.
In the very first shot, there's a guy in a pullover sweater vest, blue sweater vest, that I just get a good vibe from. And then the two cheerleaders who walk behind the lunch table it just tells me this is a high school.
Absolutely. Forks High School is vivid. It's rich. There's just a lot of flow.
The world building.
Yeah, Forks High School plays itself.
There's deep lore.
Let's start to close this thing. I'm going to ask my final question in the interview. If you had to give this scene a name, what would it be? And this is also going to be the name of the episode, so make it good.
Okay. We'd call it Snacky Sack.
Snacky Sack. There it is. All right. Snacky Sack, because he does play hacky sack with an apple. I love that. It makes perfect sense to me. All right. Let's start to wrap this thing up. Let's finish things out. This has been another episode of the Bite Side Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. If people want to find you, Brian Huther, and like the cut of your jib and the sound of your voice, where can they find you maybe on social media or something like that?
Absolutely. I mean, I would say just go to, I've got a little website, brianhuther.com. And
you can see the Hallmark cards that you've written.
Yes.
I looked it up before you got here.
You see the Hallmark cards that I've written. You can see little blog posts about, acting classes that I took.
Sure.
You can break apart a lot of different things about my life in the same way that we've overanalyzed this scene.
You can see a resume that hasn't been updated in a while.
Exactly. I don't really post on a lot of my social media right now, but if you want to, go to the website. Maybe I'll have a poem up there or something.
All right, there you go. If you want to follow the show on social media, feel free to do so. I'm not going to stop you. You can do that at bitesizepod_ on Instagram and TikTok. Nothing going up on TikTok yet. Maybe one day. I've been saying that for like half a year, though. If you want to send the show an email, you can send an email to myfavoritetwilightpodcast@gmail.com. If you like it, tell a friend about it. Leave a review. Word of mouth truly is our best and currently only form of advertising. Thank you so much to my editor, Ben Oxer, for putting this all together. Thank you to the band's Swimwear department for letting me use their song Mauled to Death as our theme song of the show. And that is it. That is all we have to talk about today on this episode of the Bite Size Podcast. As we always say at the end of every episode,
it's edible art.
It's edible art. See you next time.
And I don't just surf the internet.